The following Defending Our America episode is presented without commercial interruption by Sig Sauer.
We have a thing called a food allocation program that was right before 9/11. They were, through the 2000 census, they were trying to find out how much food, just like if a natural disaster or a man-made disaster or something like that came along, if we shut down the borders in New Jersey, how much food would we have? All these big law enforcement agents came together and said, we have about 3 days to feed New Jersey. And I said, no, you're wrong. It's bullshit. You got about 6 to 10 hours. It's because the second that shit goes bad, the people that have the mindset and the right and the ability to take this stuff will come in and hoard it.
Anytime you have a large disaster, like a hurricane in Katrina, or a major storm system that comes through the Midwest, that's when you have a lot of the predators come out. And by predators, I'm not talking about the wild animals. I'm talking about human beings that prey on others. For one thing, they're not prepared. They don't have the water supply and the food supply put aside, for an emergency to take care of themselves. So they're gonna have to go looking to take it from other people.
A lot of times in these situations, the criminal elements become emboldened. What they see is there's no one looking. In fact, no one's gonna know what's going on here.
New Orleans is a perfect example of how fast law enforcement was overrun and how fast they turned to their primal instincts, because New Orleans PD had a huge chunk of officers that just said, I'm done. I'm going home with my family because I can't do this. And when you have an environment where law enforcement can't effectively enforce the law, the predators are gonna start to take over, and they'll move in and take over an area faster than anybody can even comprehend.
When I was down in Katrina, it was really, it was the one time that I was able to take a situation and show that the street gangs that have kind of this paramilitary type structure to them, they have the upper hand. These gangs completely took over Booker T. Washington High School. When we finally went in there about 2 weeks into the program, the organized drug dealers had such a fantastic setup. They went out and stole every battery they could find. Speaker wires, radiator fans, headlights. They had this place wired up in every office. The coat closets were full of food and beer.
We talk about the readiness triangle: awareness, willingness, and preparedness. And together they equal readiness. Well, a gang of people like that, because they already have those things and are already under the hardship of their life, they're pressured every day. So it's no surprise to me that they do fairly well in this instant chaos. They live their lives with not a lot necessarily, have a certain amount of ingenuity. It's required.
Not only are they used to surviving with little to nothing, but you add in the fact that they're used to operating in an environment where there's no order, there's no law. So then you take a society, a normal functioning society, and that comes to a screeching halt and becomes lawless, without order. They live that, so they're like, hey, that's everyday stuff for us. We can handle this.
Like, what would you do if you didn't have food to feed your family, or if you didn't have water, or heating oil, or whatever your needs are? And it was a matter of life or death. For us to break down our moral structure and go next door and steal food from our neighbors, or go and steal their cars, that would be really hard for us to do. A dangerous criminal would do that in a second, not think twice about it. So in bad times, the bad guys definitely have an upper edge against us. We have to break down what we think about society to go out and do the bad things that they do on an everyday basis.
Next time on Defending Our America.
I used to tell people all the time, if you're going to call 911, make sure that you've got time to call 911.
When these things happen, the police are still minutes away when seconds counted.